Yo, what is going on? So this is Shen. Welcome to the design chat, and I have a good friend of mine called Falkunn. Welcome aboard.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me, Shen.
Oh, you're welcome,
Good to be
man.
here.
So, how's your day been? How are things going?
It's been all right, man. All the new Mortal Kombat 11 content was really awesome. Had a lot of fun, going through the new trailers and everything like that. So I'm pretty involved within the Mortal Kombat community. And aside from that, just basically getting through the day. How about you?
Yeah, I had a busy day. Yeah, as you know, I have a full-time job as well.
Hmm.
So I had a big presentation today. So I had to do an online presentation, which I've never done before. So doing like a remote presentation was a bit weird, like having to switch between screens and like having to like go through my keynote presentation and then switching to my camera again and then doing that again. And then when you have like 30 people watching you, it's like it's also telling people to mute their mics as well, so make sure there are no interruptions when I'm trying to do my presentation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's already nerve-wracking, in person when there's so many people watching you, but it becomes a bit more awkward when you're doing a live presentation and then there's some people have not muted their mics, but you can hear that background noise and it kind of throws you off a little bit. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of like distracts your trail of thought.
Yeah. So I don't know where I'm up to now. You just lost me. So, and yeah. So today we're going to be talking about design. So it's a very different type of stream today. So none of the Tekken and none of the FGC games tonight. So I thought we'd try something a little bit different, which is why I brought my friend Falcon with me to talk about esports, talk about design, and talk about like how we kind of got into the field of graphic design and like how we got to where we are and stuff like that. But we're also here to give you some valuable information if you want to get into design, and also help you guys get noticed if you want to work within an esport organization. And we're here to talk about the state of design within the FGC as well. So one of the first things we want to talk about is Falcon. Tell us what you do. What do you do? What do you do for a living? And how did you get into design?
Yeah, so right now, I'm basically just taking streaming a lot more seriously. I do design freelance on the side, and I also do commentary within the Mortal Kombat scene. But I'm not exclusively based within the Mortal Kombat community as well for that. I've done commentary for games like Overwatch, I've done it for Apex Legends as well, to name a couple.
Yep.
And it's really, just being able to do that from the comfort of my own home during all of the quarantine stuff going on right now is super helpful. Yeah. Excuse me. And yeah, so it's pretty much just like that, designing is a form of self-expression for me. It's a form of kind of articulating my thoughts and the way that my brain works in different ways. And I find it quite therapeutic to actually be able to do it and then create what I visualize in my head. It's really nice to pull that all together.
Yeah. So like, how long have you been doing design? How long have you been a graphic designer? Or how long have you been learning?
For quite a long time actually, since I was in high school, and now I'm in my mid 20s now, so well over a decade. But it was sort of on and off for a long time. I only started taking it more seriously from around like 2014, 2015-ish.
Yeah. Oh, very cool, very cool. Well, I got into design at such a young age, believe it or not. So, how I got into the creative world it's quite an interesting story actually. So, like my mum and dad, they're from, they're originally from Hong Kong. They speak Cantonese. So when I was like a little kid, they didn't really know how to speak any English whatsoever. So it became quite a struggle for me to learn English at the time. So when I went to nursery and primary school, I had to have like a private tutor, like during lunch hours and during after school as well, and trying to help me catch up my English. And my teacher gave me like an A3 notepad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then gave me like some Crayola or felt tip pens or whatever you call them back in the day. And what she said is like, okay, if you don't know how to say something, I want you to draw it. I want you to draw what's in your head, what you're thinking of saying. And then from that point on, like, I didn't know what she meant by that, so I just drew whatever, just drew whatever was in my head. I've just done a lot of doodling, and so I remembered in the school playground, like when I was really really young. Saw two kids playing football, or you call it soccer in America. So what I did was I just drew the two lads on the A3 sheet. I just drew them and drew a ball, and I drew me in it as well. So I just ran up to them and just like held that picture up and just said, and just sort of pointed, even though my English wasn't great. And then they just sort of looked at me and went, "Oh, do you want to play?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I want to play, I want to play." So like, and then that's how my obsession of art um, became prevalent, because it's like a form of communication, if you like. It's like me trying to
Yeah,
project what I'm
definitely.
thinking onto paper or onto the screen, if you like. And then my teachers kind of just knew from that point on, you know what, this kid here is gonna be, he's gonna be an artist one day. You know what I mean? Like I was very different to all the other kids. So I drew a lot. Like I drew a lot of things like Shinobi back in the day, like Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario. I was selling drawings in school because I got so obsessed with it. You know what I mean? And then from that point on, I just knew that doing something art related was my destiny, really. And that's how it all came about. And then it just went through college, uni, after uni, and it just became my career. So I kind of knew from such a young age, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I kind of resonate with that just a little bit in the
Mm,
sense that when I was a lot younger, I was a very shy kid. I never really, I was never good with my words. I didn't know what to say or how to say it, and I came from a very strict religious household.
yeah, yeah,
And both my parents are Pakistani, so like,
right.
for them, it's there's a lot of emphasis on you will be this or you will be this.
Yes, yes.
And I never actually cared about what they were putting me into. It was never something I actually wanted to do. Like I don't want to sound big-headed in this way, but like I was kind of always like naturally really good at math.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they tried to force things like accounting onto me or finance sides of things onto me, as opposed to the general doctorates which my family usually has.
Mhm.
um, and it never appealed to me. I was always more of a creative person because I'm an observer. I look at different things. I'm weirdly fascinated with geometrics, and I like color. I like all that kind of stuff, but I was never good at actually expressing myself in any way aside from kind of being creative then and there, like whenever I
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
But it wasn't really until like high school that I started playing around on library computers using a very old version of Photoshop.
Wow.
Um,
Which Photoshop was
that
that one?
Photoshop Elements.
Oh wow.
It was like Elements 14 or something like that. It was really
Yeah.
old, yeah, like 2008 or
Mm, mm.
2009ish. And I didn't. I honestly, I started doing it as a joke because I wanted to Photoshop some of my friends' faces on funny things.
You wanted to create memes,
Then,
basically.
yeah, basically, like Photoshop my friend's face onto Steve from
Yeah,
Minecraft or
yeah.
something. But like, either way, after that, it kind of just stuck with me. It became something that I ended up really enjoying, and then the
Mhm.
more I started playing around with different things, like this entire uh, plethora of different resources I can use, and all these different applications of the program,
Mm.
it sort of just stuck from there. That I was like, wow, this is pretty neat. This is pretty cool. What can I do differently? That kind of stuff. And then eventually I got to a point where I'm like, now I have an idea of what it is that I want to do, and how I can go about getting from A to B.
Mm. And how's graphic design or design in general perceived by your family? Do they believe it's an occupation that you should take in, or or have they ever said like you're not gonna make any money out of it? You should be like a lawyer or a doctor or anything like that.
Mm.
Has that ever been
Um,
discussed with you from your family? Have they ever thought or questioned your your occupation choices?
Well, I think being into video games as much as I was as a kid, because obviously, like being shy, it was never easy for me to make friends. It was never easy for me to be social or anything like that. A
Mhm.
lot of my friends were actually just like close family members, cousins and
Mm, mm,
the like. But it was I actually really enjoyed video games. I liked the escapism almost, because everything was kind of stressful when I was a kid.
mhm.
But then when it came around to designing and stuff like that, when I started to be a bit more serious with it, they they've always been supportive in the way that they're like, well, if you can make something of it, then do whatever you want to do. But it took a lot of like friction to get to that point. It took a lot of having to break the mold of like the stereotypes and stuff that they want to be putting me into.
Yes.
For me to actually get there, it was quite a risk in that sense, but it paid off in that regard, because now they understand that it's something I like doing. It's a very active hobby. It doesn't harm anyone, and they honestly just would like to see me do more with it.
No, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I mean, it was quite challenging for me as well, to become a designer, because, like, the Chinese culture as a whole is very heavily focused on status. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
for
So
us
I
here,
don't
yeah.
know whether that applies to your family as well, but like I
Yeah,
know
for
like
sure.
yeah, I know like in Asian culture, a lot of Asian cultures, it's very very emphasized on statuses. You know what I mean? Like, well, how much money you make and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
graphic design has never really been seen as like an occupation that one should pursue, because it's known to not make a lot of money. That's their perception.
yeah.
But that's not the case
They
now, you know what I mean?
they
So
regard like success with your monetary value, don't they?
exactly,
Like you're
exactly, yes, yes. So with my family, a lot of my family members, like my cousins and stuff like that, you have my brother who studied aerospace engineering. He became an aerospace engineer for Rolls-Royce, and then you have my cousin who works like electrical company in London, and then you have one of my cousins who's like a professional wine taster or something like that, and one of them's a vet. These are all like really, um, really professional jobs. Do you get what I mean? Like, and for me to sort of say, oh, I want to be a graphic designer, it was kind of like, okay, are you going to make a lot of money out of it? Is that actually going to be a job that's going to help you make a living? And it,
Mhm.
it took a long time for me to sort of prove that you can actually make a living being a designer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, it did take a lot of work. It did take a lot of perseverance, a lot of determination. So nothing's been handed to me. I had to work hard to get to where it is that I am and to gain all the experience that I have. It was not easy. It was a very, very difficult road. There were a couple of times where I had to work for companies for free just to get that commercial experience. And but it was worth it. It was like it was a long road, but it got me to where I am right now. So which
Yeah, for sure.
so which brings me to my question. So like in education, which I think is a very good a good topic to talk about, design education. Um, you're self-taught, right? Is that what you just stated? You stated you're
Yeah.
self-taught, right? So how do you feel about design education as a whole? I mean, have you tried taking a course yourself, or like where did you learn to your design attributes and stuff like that?
Yeah, so basically, I had very limited options in terms of education. It's been a bit weird for me because I was born in the UK, but my earliest memories are from the United States where I was living when I was young.
Mm.
And from there, I grew up a bit, and then I was moved to Pakistan for a few years, and then after that, I came over here back to the UK as well. But a lot of my education was actually really forced on me, which kind of put me off. Like
Mm.
I never really liked being forced into anything, so um, all my academic subjects and everything past the point of GCSEs
Mhm.
were effectively chosen for me. I didn't have free will.
Right. Right.
And my school didn't offer things like design courses. They had things like fine art,
Mhm.
but they never had anything catered towards this specifically. And I didn't actually know what to call graphic design at the time. It was
Yeah.
just something
Yeah.
I wanted to do. And because I didn't have like a valid format or a way of saying it like what I wanted to do, then it kind of just got brushed off as just being something, like a waste of time.
Mm.
So I was thrown into things like further math and all the other stuff. But then by the time I was finished with sixth form, it was really like I started to look out at different things. I've been a big like avid film fanatic in my
Mhm.
previous years, where I thought, maybe I'll try going down like the creative media process. So I went to college for a couple of years for like a level 4 qualification,
Mhm.
basically like a foundation course. And I tried to do stuff within film, do operating cameras, maybe do some photography, just different forms of like creative expression that were within that medium, right? That were
Yep.
within a digital form or a film form or something like that. Um, and there were elements of graphic design in there. We did get taught little bits in media studies of things in print, composition and stuff like that. But most of what I learned from going through this was I realized that the courses weren't really for me, but I soaked in
Mm.
a lot of knowledge from these courses and learned how to apply them to what I do now.
Right,
And
right. That's interesting.
things like color tones and
Mm.
most importantly, I think composition is something really, really big. You need to make like what you're making and what you're actually portraying has to make sense. If it doesn't, it kind of just looks formless, and that makes it look weird. So I started soaking in all that stuff, and eventually I started doing it myself, just of my own volition, my own free time and everything. And then I went to uni. Um, but in uni, I didn't gel with that either. It didn't feel like it was actually pointing in the right direction.
Mm.
Like, it felt really strange to me that we were doing a design course, but it was never something specific. It was too open-ended, and there were too many different factors about things I actually just didn't care about and didn't want to do,
Mm.
that eventually I was just like, well, I don't really want to do this. So I just took it upon myself to, hone my craft and get it the best I can possibly get it, but also apply this mentality of something that makes me me towards my design work, which is empathy. So when I design, I really try to put myself in the other person's shoes when it comes around to it, and I don't actually feel like the education route was necessary or beneficial for myself personally.
Mm.
I think that it can help some people, and there are a lot of like jobs within this industry where people do need, a specific qualification or something like that to actually get into those kinds of jobs. But for me, it was never really about that. It was about learning more and understanding even more, because I was so interested in various different forms of design, but
Mhm.
didn't really like want to go through the catered route of getting there.
Yeah. And speaking of education, I finished paying off my student loan like a couple of months ago. So that was like been ongoing for about 10 years, paying off that loan. What I can say about the education system is when I did my foundation course, my art foundation course, it was very fine arty. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
specifically to graphic design. At the time, Photoshop wasn't really that big of a thing, but I really wanted to learn the side of digital art. Like to create things digitally, to create like
Yeah.
things that are actually tangible. For companies use digital art all the time, but like doing stuff like paintings or sculptures and stuff like that, that's not going to help me make a living. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna,
Yeah, exactly.
it's not something that I was really into. But and then a lot of it was very textiles based, on this course. And what I did find in this course is that they teach you how to be creative, but they don't teach you how to survive on your own when you finish the course or survive in the industry. Now, that is something that I have an issue with, basically.
Mm,
And
yeah.
another issue I have with a lot of the education system is that a lot of the tutors come from a design degree and they go straight into teaching without having a design industry experience at all, you know?
Yeah, like
But
the
they're,
track record doesn't really add up enough for them to have the relevant
ex-
experience to be a
exactly,
teacher, right?
exactly, exactly. So in my case, like, how could I trust a tutor that has no design industry experience that just came straight from uni into teaching? And would I put my trust in that? I wouldn't, to be honest with you. If I was to get valuable information or insight into how to become a designer, then I want someone that's actually within the industry, that's like gone through the grind, that's gone through all the hurdles to be where they are. You know what I mean? Like, but for a tutor that hasn't got design industry experience, it doesn't make me want to trust them, and
Yeah,
it doesn't
I
make me
can
feel like
fully see that.
I'm getting the best education, you know, for myself once I finish the course. That's how I feel about the education system right now. But if there are tutors that have design industry experience, then brilliant. If you're teaching and you have no industry experience whatsoever, then you know, what exactly are you teaching these people? Are you actually teaching them the right thing in order to get the job that they want to?
It's a bit recycled, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they're basically just passing on exactly what they learned, but I feel like you're touching upon something you were saying before about being taught how to be creative.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't really know if that's something you can teach people, you know? Being
Mm.
creative is like you can guide them, but most of creativity really stems from oneself, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And
they teach you like the basic tools, right? They'll give you the
yeah.
tools, but then it's up to the individual on how to use it, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like, how can I say, you know, you've probably been given a car, for instance, but everyone drives it very differently. Do you know what I mean? Like no one drives the
Mm,
same way, so it's like you know, like you have the same tools, but how you use it is down to the individual, right?
yeah. And I mean, there are a lot of like different ways to be creative, essentially. But yeah, I felt like because education is very forced on us as a culture, within like the Southeast Asian cultures,
Mm.
uh, very heavily, where it's basically if you don't have a degree, then you are a. I feel bad for wording it this way, but this is exactly what I was told. Then you are a loser.
You are an inadequate,
So
basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
basically worth nothing.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's like your self-worth and your being is essentially null and void because you don't have something written down on a piece of paper to prove that you got there.
yeah.
And I always hated that, really.
Mhm.
Um because it's very toxic, you know? It's not something I think that people should be telling their kids. And there's different ways to motivate people, but when you are basically saying that, you know, if you don't do this, then you're nothing, it runs that risk as well of literally being like disowned from families and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
kind of it's really rough, but
yeah. You have to
uh,
meet expectations in order to
yeah, exactly. And then
to be accepted. You know.
yeah, and then when you were talking about your family members as well that have like, you know, these different professions and stuff,
Yeah.
it's I was often compared to like elder cousins or things like that,
Yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
it's like I've got a cousin who you graduated from Cambridge and stuff like that. I've got cousins in Ivy League schools,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean I'm like, well, okay, like good for them. I don't okay. it's,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's kind of
You,
weird, you know. It's all right,
you're
cool. I'm glad.
proud of them, but you know
Yeah,
it's not
but
for you
don't
at the end of the day, is it? So
don't use them to put me down, you know?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um and it's very archaic. It's just stuff of it's a weird mentality that stems from a very old mindset that
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
really evolved. And I think
Mm.
that especially in you know, in our relevant generations is because we're not very far apart in age as well. It's like with the basic uprise of all technology and digital formats and everything like that,
Mm-hmm.
what we do is more accessible to us and is more um it's out there, you know. We can do more with it because we can see and project the evolution of all these kinds of things. And you know, with the uprising of esports being more of a recent thing, there's a lot that we can do having already gone through what we've gone through in life.
Yeah.
And I think going through relevant hardships and relevant stresses and this sort of stuff actually helped guide us in the right way so that we know what to do because we have like this very disciplined mentality about how to get to where we want to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now's a good time to be a designer. You know, with the
Yeah.
accessibility of, you know, YouTube and you know, Udemy, Linda, all these great courses. You know, you can take a lot of great design courses now. But you know, probably when I don't know, probably about 15 years ago, I had to use a manual You know, I had to find a Photoshop
Mm.
manual just to learn how to do a certain thing. Like if I want to bend text, or if I want to disproportion a square or something, or I had to find
Yeah.
that out. I didn't have YouTube to help me with that at all. I had to use a manual, and I had to go through pages and pages just to find one specific thing. And if I wanted to get resources and stuff like that, I had to go through dial-up. Dial-up internet. It just takes ages
Mm.
just to log in, just to get internet as well. And
Yeah, I totally feel that because I didn't have like YouTube resources as well as this was
yeah,
basically like
yeah,
YouTube was really fresh at the time. I think YouTube started in what 2006,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
something like that. So there weren't dedicated design channels. There was
No.
nothing like that. There weren't content creators for this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So everything was like, well, if I'm the one being interested in this stuff, then I'm just going to teach myself.
Yeah,
Like what
yeah,
can do that's better? You can look at plenty of different things. You can take inspiration from everything. I mean, branding is a huge part of it. Branding and marketing and magazines and video games and all this kind of stuff to see what makes them good. What can be done a bit
mm,
better. It's really clean and professional and kind of just how things work together. You
yeah,
wouldn't really make something with like a purple background and green text a lot of the time because the colors can clash a lot. It's
yeah.
like you sort of learn little things as you go along, but now, yeah, we're in that era where everything is kind of at our fingertips. So for
Mhm.
newer designers, it's a lot more accessible, and I mean, that's really great. It's really great because there are just a myriad of people that do this kind of stuff day in and day out, and they are so good at what they do, and
Mhm.
they're helping basically like the new generation of digital designers achieve what they want to be able to create like what it is that they want to make,
Yeah,
and I think that's super super nice.
yeah. Definitely, I definitely agree. Um, so what do you think about um, if people want to get into design? Do you think they should take a course, or do you think they should like follow a YouTube channel, or do you think they should go into education? What do you think would be the best route for like a starting designer to get into then, in your opinion?
I think it's probably just a preference thing because everyone has different ways of learning, don't they? But
Yeah.
I do think that you don't actually need to go through the course side of things if that isn't like if you don't want to. Like you shouldn't
Mhm.
feel forced to do that kind of stuff because that's not the only way you're going to be able to learn this stuff.
No.
I think that you just need to be resourceful. You need to be open-minded.
Yeah.
If you feel that taking a course is the best thing for you to learn and you'd rather have a professional
Mhm.
uh, sit there and teach you and then can possibly provide you with like one-to-one help, then perfect. If you're more like me and you're more observant about everything and you soak in like all knowledge and everything from like your surroundings and what you see, then honestly just play around with it because then if you're stuck or you want to find out something new, you can just hit up YouTube and then look up whatever it is that you're trying to make, and then just figure out how they go about it, like what the process is,
Yeah.
the right way of doing things. But I guess that's quite a broad term because there's technically not a right way of doing things.
Nope.
There's it's really subjective, but there are ways that you can get cleaner and more polished results. But I always think that inspiration is one thing. You really have to like keep an eye out for things that will inspire you. People that will inspire you. These people are worth following and looking at their work for, because you will learn so much more by analyzing and understanding their work. But at the same time, don't try to replicate their work. Just take inspiration from it. Don't be afraid to change things. Don't be afraid to make mistakes as well, because at the end of the day, you're not really going to get any better unless you produce a bunch of really bad content, right?
Mhm. I agree, I agree. And I think to come on top of that is people should not be afraid of constructive criticism as well.
Yeah.
If you're afraid of criticism, then design is definitely not the field for you. You've got to learn to take back feedback, understand how that feedback could be used in a positive manner. Because I do know there are designers that get really precious about their designs.
Mm.
They're like, no, it should be this, but sometimes the client might not agree with said design, They might want it in a particular way. But as a designer, we have to accommodate that. You know, we have to do what we know best, but we also have to accommodate what the client wants as well, right? And I do see, like, sometimes when I do comment on someone's work, you know, like I don't rip into them. I basically just say,
It's
look,
not malicious,
not
right?
maliciously. So what I do say is, like, I try to be constructive and say, okay, have you thought about using a different type, a different font? Have you tried this color? I think maybe you should tweak the levels a little bit more. Some people would be like, you know, they get a bit very defensive about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all very insecure, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you don't really. I mean, it's because insecurities are a very touchy subject in a sense that like you don't. I don't feel like design is something you need to feel this overwhelming pride over.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's something that you can just, you know, if you listen, if you take the words at face value, take them on the chin, you can use what they're saying to better your own work. You just have to kind of open your perspective. Because I think getting really defensive about it it keeps you in a rut where you don't really improve upon your own work for a long time, and then that ends up, you know, piling on, and then that builds up more problems later down the line.
Yeah,
So
you become stuck
constructive
in your
criticism
you
is
become
super
stuck in your
important.
ways then. You know, and
Yeah, yeah,
we all should be having that learning mentality, not that we know best mentality. We should always be learning,
yeah,
I think. And I think that's a path that all designers should be taking. It shouldn't just be like, I know best, I'm the designer, I know these colors are the, you know, I think these are the best colors for you. This is the right font. But sometimes it might not resonate with the said client, or it might not resonate with the audience. So you got to
mm,
take on board the criticism. You got to take on board, you know, the feedback and stuff like that. And then how you use that feedback to make a better design is down to the designer. If they can't take the feedback, then they're not going to be a very good designer down the long run.
yeah.
Really.
It's
So
also kind of on them to have already gauged, you know, your target market, what you're trying to represent,
yeah,
and all this stuff really. But honestly, like things like that, especially if you're designing for a client, you're designing for a client. It's not work that is going to you. You don't
yeah,
have
you're
to
not
keep like
designing for yourself. You're designing for the client.
exactly.
You know, you're designing,
Yeah, so
you know,
you
for
have to
someone.
meet their requirements.
Exactly,
Like
exactly.
it's just it shouldn't really have to be said, I think.
Yeah.
Um you just like I think that honestly just keeping an open mind about this kind of stuff is
Mhm.
always just a better way to go.
Yeah. Do you want to know something interesting? Like all the jobs that I applied for, that I worked for, they didn't even look at my education. They didn't even look at it at all. They didn't even look at my degree. All they cared about was my experience. That was it. They just looked at the last place that I worked in, like my portfolio, and that was it. And then also how I answered those questions during the interview. And that's all
Yeah.
they cared about. They didn't really care about my long history, which school
Care
I
about the
went to.
mental
Yeah, they
as
cared
well,
about.
you know, your
I think,
mindset.
yeah, exactly. Like, I think the industry now, I don't think they really care about the education as much now. They care about how you think, how you work with a team, how do you work with people. Are you a people's person? How do you deal with
Yeah, exactly.
clients? How do you deal under pressure? How do you deal with difficult stakeholders and stuff like that? You know, there's more to than just learning how to push pixels around on Photoshop or you know, or on Sketch or Adobe XD or anything like that, or Illustrator. There's a lot more to it than designers, you know. In design, we have to learn how to manage people, how to manage stakeholders, how to manage expectations as well. I think, and I think if you get those, if you know how to do those attributes, then you know you become a lot more versatile as a designer than
Yeah.
just becoming a pixel pusher, if you like.
A pixel pusher, yes.
Yeah, that's a pixel pusher. That's what people at work call me. You know, they just make fun of me sometimes. You know, I work with a bunch of developers, and then they just go like, Yo, Ez, what are you gonna do today? And you know, we have a stand-up. Every day we have a stand-up. We talk about what we're working on. So I say, oh, I'm gonna be working on this and this, because oh, you're just gonna be pushing a few pixels around, aren't you? Is that what you're doing today? And I'm like, what? You're just gonna be typing a bit of code, or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's good to have that banter.
Mm.
But yeah, like as I was saying, I think like a lot of companies are clocking onto more about the mindset, about how you think and how you solve problems is also a thing that they're looking for. you know, how you solve a particular brief, how do you solve a particular problem, rather than just, oh, you know, you got a piece of paper to say you've got a first, you know, in graphic design. You know, I don't think they really care about that anymore. I think they care about how you solve certain problems and how you work with people. And I think that they are attributes that you need if you want to work within like in an agency or or within the design industry. It's not quite applicable if you want to go freelance by yourself, but like if you really want to work for like a, you know, a proper agency or a proper business, then you will need some of these attributes. So that brings me to my next question. Like, what commercial or professional experience do you have?
I mean, in terms of professional experience, I mean, because a majority of the time I've been designing, it's been freelance, really. I've been my own brand.
Yeah.
Uh, I think like,
You worked with quite a few esports brands, haven't you?
yeah, I have, but you know, I prefer working on like a commission basis for them, you know, as
Yeah,
opposed to
yeah.
being explicitly a designer underneath a certain brand.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, because I mean, this is something that happened as well very recently as well. I was part of a team, and they, I don't know, I think I'm just a weirdo, and I like my individuality. You know, I like to be quite a lone wolf in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So having another brand put before my name makes me feel a bit uneasy,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I'm actually just pretty confident in myself and my own ability to make things. So it never really appealed to me that much, not unless it was something that I could really regard as a profession. I don't actually know if I have any like really like super professional experience in this kind of field.
Yeah.
I've just been doing things a lot, really. I
Mm,
mean, it all
mm.
just started out because when esports was more of a thing. I mean, I've been big in the fighting game community. Just been like an avid fan of a bunch of fighting game players and stuff.
Yeah.
And I started out by making just if I had a talent and they had an empty banner space or something like that on social media, I would just make something for them, you know, just because it gives me something to do, and it revamps their social media and it increases my engagement and stuff like that. So I kind of just use that as a platform to both better my work and get my name out there. Um, so that's pretty much like that was my play, you know. If I saw someone with just like a random image or something in their header space, I would make them a new one, and if they liked it, they could use it, you know.
Mhm. That's very cool, man. Awesome. Um, so yeah, I'm quite the opposite to you. I worked for quite a
Mm.
few businesses, you know, rather than just going all in with freelance. To be honest with you, I've kind of been blessed with the opportunity to work for quite a few agencies, and work for like companies like Booking.com, you know, which is where I'm
Yeah.
working right now, as my main job. So I evolved from, you know, a graphic designer and now transitioned into what you call a UX designer, which stands for user experience. So that is basically looking at things end to end, which is mainly looking at things like service design, product design, application design, that kind of thing. So it's like, how do I make, it's not just like creating something that looks good, but also focus on like how it works and how it interacts with the user, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is like really expanded and really broadened my way of thinking when it comes to design. Like, you know, what problem am I trying to solve, and what do I want this piece of design to do? What do I want the user to get out of this piece of design? You know, rather than just like, oh, it's just a pretty picture, just saying here's an event and date or whatever. You know, what do I want them to get out of it? You know, like, you know, what information is important, and you know, it's kind of helped me learn hierarchy design, like what's
Yeah.
important, what's not important, and like anything that is additional. Like it's basically taught me to make design less noisy, if you like, and
Mm.
learn how to use a bit more cleaner space, but also learning how to apply design that actually solves a particular problem, which I think is you know, really beneficial to my experience and my learning. Um, what I do find is I do find like graphic design is slowly, I don't know whether I'm gonna sound controversial here, but I feel like graphic design is slowly within businesses is slowly in decline because I start to see that graphic design has now become part of UX design, if you get what I mean. So if you are a UX designer, graphic design is only part of what you do. But however, in freelance graphic design, I've started to see a massive boom of people becoming freelancers as graphic designers. But then, like businesses in, like big businesses, I feel like there's a slow decline of graphic designers because they feel like UX designers kind of cover all of that. So how do you feel about that then? Do you know what I mean? Like businesses, like like you don't really see very many graphic design jobs like in LinkedIn anymore and stuff like that.
I mean, I honestly like I can understand it because they're gonna need a wider range of skill sets from me, you know?
Yeah.
If you're working in the professional standard, it kind of makes sense to me that you would be more flexible.
Hmm.
And by being that, there's no harm in actually learning more about UX design if you're already a graphic designer
Hmm.
because you already know the foundation of what you're doing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
now that you have like that fundamental knowledge, you're just adding upon that, you're improving upon that and you're learning new things, you're learning new ways to do things,
Mm.
and you're applying what you know in different ways. So it honestly just opens up like your own horizons, doesn't it? It essentially is just better for you if you are working within the professional field, or you're working for
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
as part of a company or something like that. But with freelancing, I guess it's not really essential unless you care to do that.
Hmm.
If you're perfectly content doing what you're doing, then you may as well just keep doing it.
Yeah.
But I think eventually it might come around to that might stem outside of the professional industry, and you might want to be ahead of the game and learn this stuff now, so
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can just keep a wider array of talents, and keep them more flexible, more open, so that you can tackle a wider like range of work. Just approaching it in different mediums. I think that you should always know how to design differently via print and web, uh,
Hmm.
and things like that, understanding the formats, but most importantly, you need to do your own research
Oh yeah, definitely.
about
Agree.
different things. Otherwise, you're not really going to know where to start. You're not really going to know what to do differently. But for myself, it's like it's really just about the gaming communities and the communities I'm a part of, and things like that.
That's
You
your
know,
target market, basically. That's your target
yeah,
audience,
because
right?
yeah, it's just because I'm so involved within that community anyway. I'm so
Mm.
involved within that sort of that scene,
Yep. Yep.
that I don't actually have a desire to stem outside of that unless I randomly like got a really good offer. Maybe someone was just like, they saw my work and they were like, you know what, we really like your
Mm.
talents, we like your mentality and stuff like that, and we'd like to offer you something different. That would motivate me to want to learn something else as well, so that I could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
the most use I could be to them. But that doesn't really happen, and it honestly is kind of like if I am involved in something, I heavily care about it, but things outside of that, I don't like tend to care about too much unless someone I speak to is into that.
Hmm. That's quite. I find that quite interesting. Like how both of us coming from very different worlds in the world of design. You're completely freelance. You work for yourself. And
Mm.
then there's me, who's transitioned into loads of different types of businesses. And I think it's quite good that we're giving like different types of feedback. Like freelance feedback, but also if you want to work within a business type feedback as well. Which brings me to the topic of your passion, which is basically gaming, which is also my passion as well, which is how we met, which is funny enough.
Yeah.
Um, which is brings me to my next topic about esports and the FGC. So, like, how did you come about designing for the FGC? Like, how did you get yourself out there and get yourself known and to be seen as a designer and a prominent member of the design community within the FGC then?
So I really like this question because this isn't actually something that I think many people know. Um, I was always involved. So the way I actually joined the FGC, we'll just give it some context to butter
Mm.
it all up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Comic Con in London for the first time. I've been like a geek when I was growing up and stuff like that. I loved comic books. I loved games.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch like a lot of anime and stuff like that as well. And I that was the first time I ever experienced something like that. But to me, it's like Comic Cons were really just something that I heard of in like, you know, TV shows or online or something like that, but I never really like went to. I never experienced it for myself. So I went up with a couple friends in my school. We went for just a day, and I met a bunch of Mortal Kombat cosplayers. And I've been a long time fan of Mortal Kombat since the original trilogy. And I actually met Ketchup and Mustard through there.
Yeah,
Because they
Captain
were
Mustard. Yeah.
Sector and Cyrax, so they're heavily involved within the Mortal Kombat community, professional commentators and everything. Huge
Yep.
respect for those two.
Mm.
And I actually met them through there, and through them, I found out about the world of competitive gaming.
Yeah.
And I've always been a competitive person in a sense that I strive to be the best at what I do because I just want to be good at what I'm doing. I don't want to be like I don't want to be investing so much time and effort into something and to not be good at it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and then having already been like a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise, and Mortal Kombat 9 was released in 2011, so it was kind of like the big break that was needed for the FGC as well, because Street Fighter 4 came out just before that, like in 2007, which sort of was the resurgence of the FGC after the arcade era, right? And they showed me competitive fighting games. They showed me competitive Mortal Kombat 9. They told me about these different tournaments I could attend, and it was a very small community back then. But I started to get more involved with it. But the time I actually joined the FGC was around the time that the first Injustice game came out. So by that point, and I had gotten like a taste of competitive gaming. I won my first Injustice tournament as well, and it felt amazing. It felt like I was where I wanted to be. Like it felt like home, you know. But through that, I started going to, because obviously like the fighting game community is more integrated than things like the FPS communities, because instead of being at a LAN or a designated like Call of Duty event or Halo event or something like that, when you go to an FGC tournament, specifically majors, they have all the fighting games there. You know, you'll have involvement with things like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken, Marvel vs. Capcom, like you name it, you know. And I started to, because I've been playing fighting games my whole life. I like pretty much all of them. It was really cool that I started to learn more and meet more people, and that's how we met as well, was because mutual like affiliations with the UK FGC, and you being involved with the Manchester Battle Arena at the time as well. There were there was a lot of emphasis on crew battles and crew-based things at the time, a lot more so, you know, because I was from the south, and then Manchester is like got its own tight scene. We had the electronic dojo scene in the Midlands and everything like that as well. But from there, I started to like, watch more. There were things like I got involved with the Tekken Tag 2 scene and made some good friends like Ex-Soldier and Rukang and things like, just really great people from back then that taught me even more. And I just loved all of that. And when I started to watch more competitive games on YouTube, on any streaming platform I could find them on, I think Justin TV at the time and stuff like that, I would notice players, and I would I made a social media profile on Twitter literally just for that, so that I could follow them and I could basically be a fan of them and support them because I really liked how they played. So when I started doing all that stuff, it was really like a matter of, wow, I really like this player. I want to help him get bigger by using my talents that I've literally only been using for myself, for my own fun. And I started making banners for them. I started making overlays for them for their streams. I started doing loads of different things for them, custom fight stick art, like anything I could do that would get. I think I was pretty clever about it, because I would target players that were already quite big, and if they didn't have something like that, I saw that as potential opportunity for me to just swoop in there and give them something really good.
One thing I remembered you created a banner for Arslan Ash, and he used it like straight away when you sent it to him. This was like at the time he hasn't blown up yet. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't like massive then.
This is when he just went in Dubai.
He beat me.
But he's also Pakistani, so it's obviously like that's my ethnicity. So I'm like, oh hell yeah, because I've always known that Pakistan is really strong at Tekken. I lived there for a few years.
Yeah. And
they play it religiously. Like that is their second religion just behind Islam. It's it's like to me that felt like quite an ethnic pride kind of thing, you know. And I was really happy to see that a god of Tekken, whom I respect very much, actually lost in a very like severe way. Like he got bodied, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I wanted to do something for him because I love Tekken, and it was just really like the right kind of platform I needed. This
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
coming star, that I could just see it. You know, you have enough foresight to see these kinds of things, that you just see like a person with this much talent is gonna get opportunities with the way that esports has been evolving,
Yes.
with the way that the fighting game community has been evolving. So you use them as a platform to showcase your own work. If they share that work to all of their followers, I mean that banner blew up on Twitter. It got a lot of traction, and
Yeah, definitely.
eventually in turn helped me get more of a following and more eyes on me as a designer and my own work, not for my own ego, but for just appreciation, really. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I honestly I wanted people to like my work because I put a lot of effort into my work.
It's that
So
satisfaction, isn't it? Like it's not just
yeah,
about the it's
yeah,
not just about the payment, but it's that satisfaction that your work is given value to this client, for instance, or or this player. Like for example, like I recently just created some work for Aru, created work for Lohai. These are two big names that I never worked for in my
yeah,
life. And for me to create work that they actually taken and actually use was a great satisfaction to me. It's almost like equivalent to me winning a major. That's the feeling I'm getting from that. I'm like, oh, this
it's
is
like a sense of
amazing.
validation, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. It's almost like, you know what, they really like my work. I'm really happy about that because it makes me feel like I'm doing something that serves a purpose. Do you know what I mean? So like for me, I have great pride when someone takes a piece of design and actually use it. One of my pieces of design, and for example, like when I saw your Arson Ash banner, like when you created it and you sent it to him and he used it straight away, I just thought, wow, that just proves how valuable design can be and what difference it can make, for someone. For
Yeah, for
someone like
sure.
Arson Ash and someone like yourself as well, it's like a win-win for both of you because he's got a wonderful piece of
Exactly.
art that he can put on Twitter, something that he
Yeah.
can be proud of, but at the same time, it's giving you that recognition because you created that piece of art for him, for no charge whatsoever. It's giving you that
Yeah.
platform and that name, which I think is great, which is why I'm just so fascinated by creativity, within the FGC, and which is why I've become so obsessed with it. Like at one point, believe it or not, I wanted to be one of the best players in the UK for Tekken. Without a shadow of a doubt, I really wanted to be like the best Miguel player or whatever. But after entering loads of tournaments and stuff like that, I did place top 8s, top 16s now and again and stuff like that. But like, there's so many Tekken players, but there's not one thing that makes me different to all these Tekken players, right?
Yeah, right.
Especially as a content creator, how am I different? I'm going to compete against all these content creators on Twitch. Like if me and Ru Kang were to stream at the same time, right? Loads of people will watch Ru Kang because of, like, he's more proficient at the game. He's obviously got that following, so
Yeah.
there's no way I can compete with that. So what do I have that is different to Ru
Yeah,
Kang?
like what's your niche,
What's
right?
my niche?
What is
Yeah, exactly.
what gives you that sense of individuality that you
Exactly,
need
exactly.
in order to showcase who you are?
Yeah,
Like, because I mean, I was the same in a sense that I wanted to be the best player, and just I just wanted to be the best player. I
yeah.
didn't have like a geographical restriction to it. It was like I
Mm-hmm.
just want to be the best at whatever I'm doing, and
Yeah, yeah.
I will just try my ass off until I get there. And if I don't get there, I mean, admittedly, my mindset wasn't that great. It wasn't as strong in the past, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot better now because back then it would really like depress me if I wasn't able to meet my own expectations.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
since then it's more like, well, it actually doesn't really matter because I got good enough at Mortal Kombat X to get like a pretty big sponsor. I got
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I was able to get my name out there more. I've been playing on like the official NetherRealm streams. I was invited to
Mm-hmm.
the invitationals and stuff like that. I could hang with the best players in the country,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that was totally fine for me.
Yeah,
Even though
yeah.
I got like mopped up at majors and stuff like that, and I beat myself up for it, didn't really matter because at the end of the day, I also have this key talent that a lot of people within my relevant community didn't have. And a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
people would give
exactly.
me that level of respect because I could do something that they couldn't do. You know, the banners that I made for ketchup and mustard, they're still using them. I made
Yeah,
those years
yeah,
ago.
exactly. Yeah,
And I made one for like Foxy Grandpa and stuff like that as well after he got second at Evo.
amazing.
And it's really cool because then I became someone that could support my friends in the FGC that I've made over the course of these years,
Yeah, yeah,
with my own way of doing it.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
you know, that in turn, when they share it to their following, that
Mhm.
helps me in turn, and it also benefits them. It really is just a mutually beneficial thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like I totally resonate with what you're saying there, because, you know, like I really, you know, I really wanted to be one of the best players in the UK for Tekken, right? So I've been sponsored by Rise Gaming, been sponsored like, you know, by some esport companies and stuff like that. But like, what do I need to do in order to be sponsored by, you know, like a big esport companies such as UIU, for instance? You know, like what
Mm,
is it? What is my niche? And I really struggle with that, because how am I going to compete with players like Lowhigh or UU and stuff like that? You know what I mean? These are like
yeah.
world class players. I'm nowhere near world class, but what skill or attribute do I have? And then there's like content creators like Aru, yeah, Metal Cat. You know, they are like they you know, they got massive followings. Like, there's no way I can compete with that. And how can I reach to like King J level of, you know, content
I
as
actually
well?
did King J's. I did King J's banner
Yeah,
and stuff like that as well. That was really
that's
cool for me to do. And I uh, I always like spoke to him at tournaments here and there and stuff. You know, I tried to maintain like a very friendly rapport
yeah,
with the
yeah,
players
yeah,
in the
yeah.
community
Mhm.
because I mean, honestly, I think in every community you'll always meet people that are like quite big-headed in a lot of ways. They don't
Yeah,
really give
yeah.
you the time of day, and it's
Mhm.
fair enough. You know, that's on them. It doesn't really matter. But at the same time, I didn't involve myself with those people much
Yeah, exactly. You
because
want to surround
I
yourself
didn't.
with positive people, right? You know.
Yeah, it's like I don't care for to put time and effort into someone that kind of only wants to talk to people when they're a benefit to them.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
King J was never one of those kinds of people.
No.
He was always a very like, you know, easygoing, chill to like very easy to talk to kind of person. And
Yeah.
Rukang especially, man, he was one of the nicest guys in the FGC I've
Oh
ever met.
yeah, definitely, definitely. He's like one of my
Um,
best friends, you know, Rukang.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know.
Mario's like a he's a real wholesome guy. Same thing
Yeah,
with Keisha, ex-soldier.
yeah, yeah.
And these guys, you know, these guys that really like trained me when I was a complete newbie in Tekken Tag 2.
Mhm.
Um, but the thing is, you really create like strong bonds with these players. You know, I got friends in the Marvel communities in the UKC, and I got friends in like all over. Really, you know, I've done like graphics for people like Base, who's the best Spinal player in the world, and I played Spinal and Killer Instinct.
Right, right.
Um, and you know, I do banners for these kinds of people, not just to
Mm.
get my name out there more, but to make them aware of who I am.
Yeah, yeah, of
And
course.
that was like what I wanted because
Yeah,
I was at
yeah,
the end of the night before I did anything for them, I was just some random number on the internet, some like dude behind a screen
yeah,
that watched
yeah.
them and appreciate them from a distance, but they have no idea who I am. So I could really just showcase my own talents and
Mm.
help use that to boost myself up, um, by doing something for them as a token of appreciation,
Yeah,
really.
of course, of course. And you know, like as I said, you know, that is probably the same way have I gone about, you know, getting noticed within the FGC. Like, obviously, I have to work probably 10 times harder, you know, to try and get to that sort of level, you know, as a Tekken player. But there was like another skill that I had that I
Hmm.
knew I had on the side, right? That I wasn't utilizing. And I knew I was very good at my craft. What if I decided to use this craft within the FGC, which is why I decided to, you know, do MBA at the time, Manchester Battle Arena.
Yeah, I
You know,
remember those
like,
banners. They were
but
really cool.
basically, Manchester Battle Arena was started by a friend of mine called Ying, and unfortunately, it became in decline when loads of gaming cafes and gaming, you know, venues decided to close. So we had to do things ourselves. So literally, I had some skills within, you know, design and marketing, and I just did the whole thing from scratch, completely from scratch. You know, whether it be the, you know, the logo, the banners, the merchandise, the website, did the whole thing. I stayed up day and night just to get things going, you know, and that's probably,
Mm.
I don't know how much time I spent on it, but I spent a lot of time. And then, you know, Manchester Battle Arena became like quite well known, and we got sponsored by Bandai Namco, you know, to you know, they gave us a load of prizes, gave us big boxes of stuff, you know, for us to give away to our players. And then, you know, but a big thing that contributed to that was my design, you know what I mean? And then that's something that I really hold great pride in. You know, I developed something totally from scratch, and it got recognized by one of, you know, by my favorite gaming company, you know, that made Tekken. You know, they saw the recognition of my work, and then that's how it inspired me to carry on pursuing design within the FGC. And then at some point, it just got to a point where, you know what, I really want to get noticed by a bigger sponsor. And by doing that, I don't think being a player is the way to go. I think the only way to do that is take something unique of mine and really expand on it. And that was my my craft. You know what I mean? It's all like, whether it be like, you know, designing stuff for local scenes, and doing first to tens, and doing posters for people that play me in a first to 10. You know, they get a personalized poster, or they get a personalized banner and stuff like that. I started creating all these things,
cool.
and
It creates incentive, doesn't it?
yeah. And then, like, I wasn't charging anyone. I was just giving away free designs to people. Like, okay, you know, like,
it's a prize, isn't it?
you know, play me in a first to 10, you get a free banner, you get everything for free. You don't lose anything. The only thing you get, you know, you gain more than anything. You get the opportunity to play my Miguel, but also you get something totally for free regardless. And that way, like, it kind of blew up. And then all of a sudden, like, UIU sort of noticed all the content I was distributing, because I was churning out designs on a weekly basis.
I popped off when I saw that. When you got signed to UIU, I was popping off so hard.
That was like,
obviously we've known each other for so long, and we've been doing like the same kind of stuff, like with our own individual like flavor, you know. And I was just super happy for you, because UIU are like a team I regard as like a tier 1 team. Super professional, super, like, you know, they're worth it, you know. And it's really like, I could then see how your work will benefit them, and the stuff that you've been producing with them has been, like, you know, second to none, man. I've really liked it.
Oh, cheers, man. Appreciate that.
And I genuinely do feel like, after all the effort I've seen you put in over the years, and after everything you've done, you did deserve that. You really did. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
But yeah, man, it's like, it's just good, because it's the same way I was saying that thing earlier. When you have friends in the FGC, you really want to, like, support them and then see them grow.
Definitely.
And I could see you do what I once wanted to really do, and it's really, like, you know, benefiting you. It's getting your name out there even more. And that's honestly that's the goal.
You know what's funny? Like, since me and you have known each other for quite a while, we started our FGC designers channel, didn't we? And that's kind of like really helped out, because a lot of designers have started now contributing towards that channel. Like, hey, I designed something for my scene, you know, come check it out. What do you guys think? Give me some feedback. And I noticed, like, how everyone's very constructive. Everyone's really, like, supportive of each other, and this is what I really liked. And then this is where I started to find, like, my actual niche. You know what I mean? Like, I found the area that I really wanted to be part of, and that is the design community within the FGC. And then that's, like, become my individuality, if you get what I mean. Like, it makes me an individual now that I become you know, a designer for UIU. And now I've got a community of designers, me and you, and some other designers as well, that, you know, like Drew, Alt Zero, all coming together and just talking about good design. And I feel this is so positive for the community, because sometimes when you're in the fighting game community, everyone's always, you know, I don't want to use the swear word, but always bitching about a game. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, this game has a shit patch, or you know, or they're not released a certain character. But there's always positive vibes in the FGC designers community. There's always something so good about it, which is why I always come back to it. And I see great feedback, and I like how everyone's looking after each other to help each other excel in their career within design. And that is something that I don't see often enough now. But I feel, you know, for me, that is something that I'm really proud of. I'm proud to be part of that community now. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, man, it's a really it's a nicely established one. And the thing I like about it is the fact that it isn't geographically bound in any way.
Exactly, exactly.
People come from all over the place. You know, shout outs to like Sartori who is in the chat,
Mm,
who you know, Brazilian designer, and then we've got like you know, Drew and Nero are both in Canada as
mm.
well, and we've got both of us over here in the UK, and then Alt Zero being in I believe it's in Wales,
So
right?
Wales, yes, yes,
And
Wales.
it's super cool to know that like we're a very tightly knit community. We got like other great up and coming designers, people like Kandar, you know, within more of the Mortal Kombat scene.
Yes, yes.
Um, and I think there's something that goes a long way that takes very little effort, and that's when you start to, you know, DM them with a bit of like just some positive feedback
Yeah,
on their work. You know, if you like something that they did, there's this recent banner that Autumn did, and she honestly really impressed me. She did this thing where she created silhouettes of the two character renders and made them white, and then gave them this little faint like white outline on just on the outskirts. And I
yeah.
was like, that's a really nice touch. So I screenshotted it, circled it, sent that to her, and I was like, yo, I really like this touch. I
Mm,
really like what you did over here. It looks awesome, and you did a really good job with this banner and stuff.
yeah.
And you know, she really appreciated that, and I'm always like that. I always want to just support people, and now we've got like all these new faces, all these new names and stuff
Yeah,
within
yeah.
the communities that are wanting to design and everything like that. And I
Mm.
extend my hand to them, saying like, you guys can DM me anytime, like if you need creative direction, advice, anything like that. Because sometimes I stream design and stuff, and I always explain my thought process and what I'm doing,
Yeah.
because it helps people who don't, because I have very unorthodox methods of doing things, being self-taught, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that I really kind of guide people in different ways. I show them different little like tips and tricks to help with their work. And there's a recent designer within the Mortal Kombat scene in the UK scene called Prime. He also goes by Hash,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got talent. Like he doesn't really know everything. Like he doesn't really know what to do a lot of the time. He just
Yeah.
plays around with stuff, but he's talented. Like I can tell he's on the right track.
Yeah,
So I do
yeah.
little things. I give him little pointers here and there instead of overloading him with loads of information,
Mm-hmm.
and just to, you know, help him improve his own work for his own self satisfaction. Really, because we're all just here to support each other.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I used to have friendly competition with SBD Design, you know, the designer
Yeah,
for Versus Fighting or Electronic Dojo. Like me and him, we get on so well. Like every time we see each other, it's like, oh, I remember you did this. I remember you did that design for Manchester Battle Arena. I remember you did that design for Versus Fighting. That is a really good job. That is awesome. And then we sometimes swap ideas. You know, like we talk about stuff like, oh, do you mind if I use that technique on my next design? Because that is a really well thought out technique. I've never done something like that before. Can you show me how it's done? And then, you know, we sort of tell each other how certain techniques have been used, and then we kind of apply it to our own work. And I also have friendly competition with the Denton brothers, you know, Mark and Richard.
yeah,
They're,
yeah.
I
The
used
Double
to,
Dragons.
yeah, the Double Dragons, you know, like they're old school, right? But
Hmm.
I used to put them on a pedestal. I'm like, you know what? If I want to be a designer within the FGC, I need to be on that level, you know, to the Denton brothers.
Yeah, I used to really look at unequaled media in that way as well. You know, I
Yeah,
would look at them and be like, wow, this is I really like it. I like how clean it is. I like how professional it is. And
yeah, yeah,
you know, speaking of unequaled media and everything from back then, there was actually buddy from back then, did you know Jamar?
yeah, Jamar,
Uh
yeah, yeah.
unfortunately passed recently due to the COVID situations and everything like that. And it
Oh
was
man,
people like him that were really like inspirational for me, and
yeah,
in the up and coming within the UK FGC and everything, because their direction with all this stuff
hmm,
was really good. Like he was helpful in the tech and production side of things, and also in the design side of things. There's people like Aggie as well who were working as well in part with them, and these people would really, you know, motivate me. They were really chill people, really cool people. The Street Fighter community was really blessed,
yeah,
and
definitely, yeah.
it was super cool to see.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. You know, we really have like spoke a lot about how we kind of grown into the FGC. So you know, let's change the topic up a little bit. You know, like I know there are people that really want to like aspire to be part of the FGC and to be part of an esport brand or company. What advice would you give? You know, upcoming designers that want to be part of the, you know, the FGC or within an esport company, what do you think is the best call to action?
Don't be afraid to experiment. Really, like, don't be afraid to kind of break out of your comfort zone to try new things. When you start to do a lot of work that I guess you might not be too happy with, it helps make those mistakes for, you know, meaningless projects. When it comes around to doing something that you want to do really well or you want to nail, you have more of an idea of how to go about doing it. And I think there's always like a really good way of doing things. You know, I did something recently. I also think that, you know, social media engagement is a really big thing. If you can, try doing it for players or for organizations that you feel could use with a bit of a revamp.
Yeah.
You know, just don't be afraid to do this stuff, because there's no obligation to use any design work that's sent their way. But there's also no harm in doing it, because the trade-off will always be in your favor if they do end up using it.
Yeah, exactly. And, because so it's more of a win-win situation for the organization, because they're getting something essentially for free, or they could essentially be thinking, oh, we have a talented designer here that we've never seen before. They just distributed some really awesome banners for us. This is something that we can actually use. You know, they might get in contact with you. You know, if you design something that is completely out the blue and caught them off guard.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes organizations do like that surprise effect. You know, like that sort of.
Also, I also think that, like, don't be afraid to post work you might not regard as good.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to reference back to it. You know, I actually did a wallpaper back in like 2016. I did a wallpaper literally based off of just an idea I had at the time. It was a very spur of the moment thing, and it was a prototype. And that was for I used to really play like a lot of Overwatch, and the character in Overwatch, Diva, her lore was that like she's a professional StarCraft 2 player.
Yeah.
So I sort of went with that idea, like taking the idea of, you know, like her bunny icon, and then incorporating it into a StarCraft themed like space kind of wallpaper, where I made it like a metal kind of logo, and put it into space and everything like that. Didn't tag anyone, didn't do anything. I literally just said it was a Diva wallpaper based around StarCraft 2's theme and vibe. And then Blizzard themselves retweeted it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then it blew up, and I was like, what? And then this recent one I did as well, which I've just shared with you in the Discord chat.
Yeah.
Is that one was liked by, because it's based around Sindel from Mortal Kombat. That one was actually liked by the voice actress of Sindel from Mortal Kombat.
Really?
And Charlotte Chung, who voices Diva, also liked the wallpaper from before. So you never know what's gonna happen. Like, seriously, just post the work, even if you have to post it into a portfolio that no one has access to but yourself, because you can always look back at what you've done and then think about how to evolve that.
Yeah, I remember doing something like a Spotify playlist. You got that sort of CD design type thing.
Yeah.
I remember season 2 came out for Tekken 7. The new Julia character came out, and the new soundtrack, and I created like a Spotify CD style playlist. And I used the Spotify, font, and then I combined Tekken and Spotify together, and I posted it out, and it got retweeted by Bandai Namco and Michael Murray, which I thought was awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right? It just happens.
It
like,
just happens.
You don't
you know
expect
what I mean?
these things to happen, but it can just happen. So there's honestly nothing to lose. And then if something like that does happen, then awesome. Like, it feels really good, because then you just get a bunch of random people you've never spoken to before in your life up in the comments saying, wow, this is really good work. Oh wow, I really love this, and stuff like that. And it honestly I feel like it makes you feel really good.
Definitely.
Really, really good inside.
You definitely can't replace that satisfaction of creating something and then someone actually using it or approving it, or really getting that sort of sense of excitement once you from something that you created. That is a feeling that you can't replicate doing something else. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's why I'm so into creativity and design, because of that feeling. I love that constant feeling of creating something new, adding value to people, and having someone sort of say to me, you know what, this is awesome. You know what I mean? I love it. I'm gonna use it and I'm gonna treasure it. And it's like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Right. So we're coming towards the end, so basically I'm gonna talk about the last topic is what is your advice to improve, and what is your advice getting over things like creative block as well? So I know designers, we always strive to improve, we always try to be better versions of ourselves, but how do you get over that wall of, you know, like you're getting stuck, like, oh, I can't get better or anything like that? How do you improve, and how do you get over that creative hurdle?
This used to be something I really struggled with in the past. I would literally feel very, very frustrated, like I wanted to pull out my hair when I couldn't get past these things. But now, honestly, you just have to work through it.
Yeah.
You just need to keep at it. Like, eventually something's gonna click. If you really, really feel like this mental claustrophobia, like you're trapped within a prison of your mind, to put it like in a very strange analogy, it's like you just kind of need that extra little bit of spark of inspiration. So that's when you look at your fellow designers, or you look at people involved within different communities or different scenes, and understand what they're doing, think of things they're doing, and sort of develop your own ideas based on that. If you really, really feel like you're not having any ideas and it was absolutely like the biggest wall you've ever come across, there's no harm in taking a small break.
Oh yeah,
You just need to allow yourself some space. Let your brain reset and go back into it with a fresh mind and play around. Just have fun, experiment.
Yeah,
And eventually you will find something that you're satisfied, and you might even find a new way of doing some stuff. And you're like, wow,
definitely.
this is awesome. And then, you know, you just kind of play on that and you keep building that up.
And also I want to say, like, when people struggle with like a brief or a task, you know, don't ever feel afraid to ask for help. Doesn't mean that you're weak as a designer. It's just like you're going through a creative block, and everyone goes through that, right? Everyone goes through a creative block, and everyone sort of might not be able to solve a problem as quickly as some others. You know what I mean? And I don't think there's any harm in asking for help. But sometimes, you know, like if I can't solve a particular problem, I sometimes ask my peers at work, and like, okay, I got this problem, but I can't get my head around it. You know, can we like have a session, like an ideation session together, like get a bunch of post-it notes and just write down some ideas and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Have a workshop or something. Yeah, well. Brainstorming. Like sometimes really it's good helps. Sometimes it's good, in my opinion, right? Like one of my biggest advice is sometimes it's best to get away from the computer for a little bit. Maybe doodle a little bit, maybe get some post-its and write some ideas that is relevant to the task at hand. You know, you never know, you might be able to come up with so many solutions from these post-its that you might be able to come up with something more amazing that you anticipated because it was a joint effort, you know, like you just taking a break and you found something unexpectedly. That's how I sometimes find my best ideas. Like sometimes I will struggle going through a task. And I'll just like literally have to take a break. I'll have to get away from the computer because like otherwise I'll be stuck in something what I call pixel paranoia, which is basically I'm stuck on the computer and I'm just pushing pixels around, trying to figure out what the best design is. And you know, you're designing on the fly then. You're not really got on a plan of attack, really. You know, it's almost like going into a game and having no game plan.
Mine's called Photoshop Purgatory.
Yeah, so like mine is pixel paranoia. I'm just pushing pixels around, like going, oh, I don't know what to do. I'll just push this pixel. Maybe this will make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. So sometimes I'll have to switch off and completely just go back on the drawing board or get a notepad and just doodle some ideas and just write some words that's relevant to the task. And then you never know, you might be able to come up with something that's completely out of the blue, unexpectedly. And don't be afraid to ask for help either. And you know, and use your contacts. Like for example, the FGC channel that we have. Sometimes I might design something. I would love feedback on it. Like, what can I do to make this better? Because I can't come up with anything. And then you might be able to get some like really good ideas from other fellow designers. And I think that's part of being a good designer, is being able to learn how to get help, learning how to ask the right questions, but also taking on constructive feedback.
You need to be open to the feedback. And definitely like don't feel ashamed of what you're doing. Doesn't matter what the level of like work you're doing is, so long as you feel, you know, I think that you should always feel comfortable sharing your work, because if I'm to put it bluntly, so I know this doesn't apply to like the FGC designers like community that we have, but that's don't feel like if you share your work, you will be mocked for it.
Yeah.
It should never be that way.
No,
If
it shouldn't,
people are
shouldn't
actually
feel that way
doing
at
that,
all.
I
No.
genuinely think that you shouldn't be interacting with those people because
No.
that's not the kind of support network that you need. That's not the kind of community that you need for your design. It's really just about you just need creative direction, because people start out everywhere. And I know that sometimes I produce work that I think is total garbage, and even then I'll still share it because I'm like, maybe sometimes I just want to ask my Twitter followers, like, hey, what's up with this? Like, do you guys think I could do anything differently if just to make it visually pleasing, because I can't really figure this out at the moment.
Yeah, there are some like work that I've done that I don't feel too particularly proud of. I don't think it's, to my standards anyways, I'm not very proud of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But for the client or the customer, they bloody love it. They were giving me good money for it. And then I'm like, well, if you like it, then cool, fair beans, I get paid, I'm happy, But for me, it's not something I probably might not put in the portfolio, but I'm definitely up for sharing just to get some feedback as well. So yeah. So now we're coming towards the end of the podcast or the chat. This is something totally different that I've ever done. So I really thank you guys for coming and watching this stream. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave a Q&A for you guys. So like if you guys got any questions you want to ask, then me and Falkunn can like answer them here and now. If you want some advice or if you got anything that's burning on your mind, then feel free to ask in the chat and we'll answer any of those questions. So no, it's not the end. So not exactly quite the end, but we're basically leaving it open to you guys. You guys got any questions, then feel free to ask. Or if you guys want to know any particular thing in design, feel free. We're going to leave the conversation open to you guys as well. So yeah, how did you think that went then, Falkunn? Did you enjoy that? Was that something different?
I do, yeah. This was actually really fun to do, and I think it's also a really good idea that you had to actually kind of bring this to light to do this podcast, because there are, as Chad's been saying, really, like, there's people that have been benefiting from listening to this, from hearing our perspectives on things, and we are in a niche community within the fighting game community and stuff like that. But I think it always helps to hear the perspective of other people that do this stuff like day in, day out, because you start to understand the mentality behind it. And because of that, it's really important.
Okay, so we have a question here from It's Knee. So he says, do you think that having a qualification or learning yourself makes that much of a difference when it comes to design?
Nope, not in the slightest. I think that at the end of the day, you're still designing, so you don't really need the qualification. Like, take it from because Shen and I are quite perpendicular in this way. Like we're like parallels of each other. We have our similarities, but we're like two different sides of the same coin. If I'm tails, he's heads. So I don't have the professional qualifications and stuff in design, but I can still do things that meet a professional standard. Whereas Shen does have that. He does have the professional experience and can still achieve, things of a professional standard. So the end result is still the same. How you get there is really down to you.
Yes. So I can tell you from a professional point of view is that I think I said this before, that not a lot of businesses now will focus on your education. They focus on your portfolio, your quality of work, and the way you solve problems and the way you think. So if you can do these things, then you will get quite far. As long as you have an impressive portfolio, you keep updating your work, keep up with design trends, then you should be getting quite far then. As long as you stay educated in your craft, it doesn't matter how you do it, whether you want to go through a course or whether you want to self-teach yourself, it doesn't really make a difference. All businesses care about is your way of executing your work. As long as you can get the final result to a good standard, to a professional standard, then that's all they care about. So it doesn't really matter about your history, whether you got a degree or not. It makes no difference at all. So hopefully that answers your question. So let's see if we've got any more questions. So Okay, so we have a question from Satori, and he says, I kind of have something to ask. What do you guys think about doing free work just for the sake of helping the fighting game community of your country grow? Because I do that sometimes, and some people just say I'm dumb for not charging. What do you say to
No,
that?
I'm totally down with the idea. Honestly, just doing it. People can say that you're dumb for not charging for them because they value your work. So honestly, it's quite respectful in their sense. Like they respect you enough to understand that you should be paid for this stuff. However, I'm sure that you understand from your own perspective that doesn't always happen to be the case. Because in order to be paid for your work, you need to have clientele. But if you're supporting your country and your community, there's no shame in like doing that for free. I think that's a really, really good move because you're showcasing not just your own work, but the pride of your nation and your own community and everything like that to actually get it out there and make, get eyes fixated on that. So, Sartori, I'm not sure if you're actually a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat scene, but the Brazilian Mortal Kombat scene is, it consists of some very, very strong players and stuff like that. And I think that if you were, if you were able to do stuff that kind of unites the Brazilian FGC and things like that, for example, and do some free graphics as like a representative of the country, that could really benefit you guys as a whole. And then it would eventually lead into something that could potentially be a big paid opportunity. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with what Shav is saying, what Falkunn is saying. Definitely, there's no shame in doing some free work, but don't do it all the time. That's what I would say. So, say like if you've done some great work for a community, but they keep pushing for more work, that's when you need to start saying, okay, I've done a lot of free work now. If you want me to continue, then yes, I'm gonna have to start charging because you are using my time. So you're gonna have to
like don't let yourself get taken advantage of.
Yeah, exactly. Don't let people take advantage of you. But there's no harm in creating free work to get that, to get yourself out there, to get your work being seen by your community, by your nation. No one's gonna think you're stupid. I don't think you're stupid for doing that. But as long as you don't keep doing it for like a long time for the same community, then I think yeah, I don't think it's the right way to go if you're going to keep doing it for free for a long time, because if they're going to keep using you for your work and they're using your time, then you all have to start considering charging for that.
Yeah, but to get your own name out there and to get your own your community's name out there and stuff like that, then I'm a huge advocate of that kind of stuff because that's similar to how I started up.
Yeah, the same with me as well. So I we both worked for free for many different communities for our scenes and stuff like that, and it really helped us grow. So definitely do it to help your growth, but don't do it forever. That's what I would say. Okay, so the next question is, what is the best platform to showcase your portfolio? Like a dedicated platform where you stack all your work.
A good free resource, Behance, Behance.net.
Yeah, Behance, Dribble is also one I use.
Yeah. Honestly, Discord is pretty good these days.
Yeah.
If you have a Discord community or something like that, and they have things like areas where you can share artwork or graphics or something like that, that's also very good.
Yep.
But if you are looking to showcase just your work and only your work, Discord obviously wouldn't be accessible to everyone, especially within the professional industry as well. I do recommend things like, just the websites that we did mention. I personally have only used Behance for an online portfolio, but it's really, really straightforward, really easy to use, and it's accessible by everyone with a simple URL. So, it's honestly just a really good thing to use.
Yeah, I agree. I would use Behance myself. The problem why I don't have a website is because I spend more time creating other people's content than my own, which is quite a big thing.
That's literally why I have.
Yeah. So creating a website for me, I get so bored of websites really, really quickly. So which is why I use platforms like Behance just to quickly upload my work, or use Instagram. I use Instagram. That really helps as well.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my work is put through Keynote. So I put all of mine in a presentation form, which I send as a pack to businesses and stuff like that. But if you really want to keep updating it, then for me personally, I go Behance, and sometimes with websites, they go outdated really easily, and you're probably gonna end up having to recode the website again. So probably best to use Behance because you get free updates on it anyways, and it's a good platform which is very accessible to many other people, many other designers, many businesses as well.
Yeah.
All right. So we have one from Sophie K. She says, "Do you guys also listen to design podcast aside from the FGC? I really like to listen to Christo, someone you might know him. So yes, me personally, I listen to the Future or the Christo because they talk about the business of design at a very granular level. So for me, I think they're really great to listen to because they basically teach you how to be confident within yourself as a designer, how to price yourself, and how to speak to clients, how to deal with difficult stakeholders and stuff like that. I definitely recommend listening to them. So that is a podcast I always listen to. So another one, if you really wanted to, think about problem solving, then A and J Smart, which is also another podcast I listen to, which are really good. But yeah, they're the two ones that I mainly go to. But definitely the Future and Christo are like really good if you really want to become a professional graphic designer. Have you got anything to add to that, Shav?
Well, I'm quite the opposite. I've only listened to the Future because Shen actually showed me, and there is a lot of value in listening to these things. But I feel like I'm the opposite because if I listen to someone else's point of view too much, then I start to lose that sense of individuality I have, where I don't want to follow suit with other people too much. I kind of just do my own thing, and I think for that, because I'm a very observant learner and I'm adaptable, I just sort of do my own stuff. You know, sometimes I will watch YouTube resources, just like people like Sesso on YouTube here and there to get like little tidbits of information, little tricks, and then just sort of understand the process. And the moment I understand the process, something clicks in me, and I'm like, okay, I'll close this. And then I'll just start playing around with different things, and then I'll start applying that process outside of what they have done it on. And I sort of find different uses for it. So I take inspiration and I turn it into my own thing as well, and I kind of merge everything together. So I don't really listen to a lot of design podcasts. I don't actually listen to a lot of podcasts in general.
Yeah. Okay.
I listen to a lot of music. That's my happy place.
All good. All right, so we got one from Noogie. Where is the best place to start designing for things such as tutorials, tips, beginner guides? So where is the best place to start designing?
Probably YouTube. It's a lot more accessible. Like everything's a lot more accessible these days.
Yeah, if you got money to spend, then Udemy is good. But definitely, YouTube. There's loads and loads of YouTube designers out there. If you want us to link you to some YouTube designers, then let us know. We know a couple. But definitely one we both mentioned is Sesso. Sesso's always releasing new content all the time.
He's the branding director. I don't know if he's branding director actually, but he's a designer with 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves,
so
a really good designer.
Design work. It's phenomenally good.
He's very good. He's also
he's exceptionally talented.
He also like distributes like graphic packs as well. You know, like he gives you like things that you can use like as templates and stuff like that. That helps you, help you on your feet. However, I do want to raise something. Yeah, like if you're going to use graphic packs, please bloody use them well. Do not just plonk everything that you see on from a graphics pack onto a page, because that really annoys me and Shav. Like we can tell, like me and Shav like looked at a few designs and we can tell when someone's been using a graphics pack and just literally just threw everything into one thing and it just looks like a mess. You know, like when you're just getting a paintbrush and you're just flinging shit into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like you've taken the shells of a bunch of really cool individual things and turned them into this abomination. Yeah, it's like that South Park PETA episode. Like if you've seen it, you've seen it. But like it's there's no shame in using graphics packs, but at the same time, try not to allow yourself to be carried by them.
Don't rely on them.
That you can do your own style of stuff, because graphics packs kind of do have to work for some people.
Think of it
And
as like auto combos. It's like auto combos,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
It's,
that's a
it's the
really good
same.
way
It's
of
the
putting
same
it.
analogy, isn't it? Like you're literally
Yeah.
just letting it do the work for you, but you know you're not.
Or macros.
Yeah, you're not thinking. You're not actually using your creativity, your design thinking. You're just using whatsoever's on a page and just throwing it. So it's almost like the same thing as like using auto combos or macros. You know, so don't rely on them too much. It's okay to take the odd thing here and there, like a layer style, or like a lens flare or something, or like a background or something like that, or a bit of texture. That's fine. But if you're gonna throw everything all into one page from one single graphics pack, I seriously do not do that. People can tell. You know what I mean? Like designers are a lot smarter these days now, so they can tell when something's been designed by a graphics pack. So don't rely on them too much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see what other questions we've got here. Okay, so Nee says, I feel more accomplished looking and then creating than using. Creating your own things inspired by styles feels better than reusing. Do you agree with that statement?
I feel more accomplished looking and then creating than using. Creating your own things inspired by styles feels better than reusing. Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
I just sort of do my own thing, really. Like, you can be inspired by a bunch of different styles, but at the end of the day, you have to find your own individual way of doing it, because you can say, for example, you have designer A, designer B. Both of them produce really good content, but both of their content looks near enough the same. Um, you don't want to be plagiarizing other designers, and you don't want to be imitating other designers too much. I think it's always important to like observe, look, learn, and spin it in your own take, you know, make it unique. If anyone's seen like My Hero Academia, you know how like Midoriya has to like turn One for All into his own thing. Like he just can't use it like All Might because it hurts his body. It's that analogy kind of works for me. But yeah, it really just, you just I mean, I do everything now manually, like everything. I do my own color corrections, like with brushes on character renders. I do my own character renders. A lot of the time I'll do my own backgrounds. I find my own resources and everything like that. And brushes, man, brushes are so good. They are so underrated. Like a good brush
I
pack.
like a good brush, man. Like especially a distorted effect or something. That's
Yes,
like
and
a good brush.
dry brushes
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that, powder brushes, grunge brushes. Like, you can make your own textures in very creative ways. There's something I used to do is I listen to a lot of metal music, and metal like album covers can be very very what's the word I'm looking for? Abstract.
Oh yeah,
They can be very like busy, right? So a lot of what I used to do is sometimes I would take a square of just random like busyness within that album, and then I would flip it and I would mirror it and create a perfect symmetrical texture like that. And then I would do the same thing but flip them vertically, and then have my own square, and I would basically create my own texture using that.
Yeah,
And
that's a good way of doing it.
things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, I sometimes do the same thing, you know, where like if I like a particular pattern or something, sometimes I recreate it, you know what I mean? But obviously, like, I'll move a couple of lines. I don't want it to be exactly the same as something.
Yeah, you just got to apply
You
your own
gotta
touches
apply
to it,
your
right?
own. Yeah, so I might use a different color, might use a different line stroke or something, you know, or different weight or something like that. You know, so yeah, that's how I sometimes apply my patterns and stuff like that. So, anyways, let's see what other questions we've got. So. Sky to Rush TV says, will this become a regular show, like monthly or bi-weekly? Well, we don't know, because how much are you guys enjoying this? If you really enjoy this content, then we'll definitely we'll do more of it. It's something that I've not done before. This is very, very new to me. I've never done like this kind of design podcast thing before, and this is like the first time I've done it. And it seems like you guys are getting a lot of value from it. And if you are getting value from it, then me and Falkunn will definitely want to do more of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally down. This is also a first for me.
Yeah.
It's been very nice to kind of air out the thoughts, you know, introduce our own roots and everything like that, and then you know, kind of like where we started and then what we're doing now. But overall, I feel like it's a good thing because it's beneficial to designers across the board as a whole.
Yep.
Um, and for that reason, like I'm totally down to do it again because like it's just all about mutual growth.
Yeah,
You know, like
definitely.
there's no point trying to put down anyone else for your own
No.
benefits. It's all just we can all improve together. It doesn't have to be so competitive about it.
Yeah. So my main idea now is I would like to feature different designers, like on a bi-weekly basis maybe. And what me and Falcon have sort of thought about is, would you guys like to come and be featured on this podcast and then show us like some of your work? And if you show us some of your work, we can give you constructive feedback, we can give you advice on how to improve it, or if there's something that you want to show us that you feel proud of and you can tell us all about it, then then this will be an opportunity for you to show us like what you're so proud of and show the world what you're proud of as well. So we want to use this platform for you guys to be proud of the work that you do, but also a platform for you to gain new ideas and to get the feedback that you need in order for you to get better. So hopefully, if you guys want to come online one day, if you want to come onto a podcast, me and Falcon can ask you some questions and to really get to know you as a designer, your thought processes, and that's something that we're really up for as well. So if you guys will want to do that, then let us know. If you guys really want to be part of it, drop me a DM. We'll definitely schedule you in. We'll schedule you as a designer, guest designer here. And yeah, let's talk design. Let's talk some creative shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, send us your work, and if you want feedback, let us know. So yeah.
Yeah. You mind if I throw in a couple things as
Yeah,
well?
go for it, man.
First thing was if you peep the Discord chat real quick, between us, then if I have your permission, I can post that little bit I did. And also to answer White Pony, yeah, honestly, Tool were actually a very big inspiration for me to do that kind of stuff, especially bands like Mastodon,
Mm-hmm.
um, where they have very abstract and obscure types of album art. I used to listen to a band a lot. I mean, I still listen to them sometimes, but a band I listened to a lot called the Black Dahlia Murder, and they had very, very busy album covers. And for those kinds of things, um, I think it's always really cool that you can create this really, really obscure, bizarre, abstract, symmetrical pattern and then use that as a texture
Mm.
and sort of play around that, change the colors on it, maybe even invert the colors on it, get it really wacky, and you can do some really cool stuff with that.
You want to show the design at all, so people know what you're talking about,
Uh,
or is he?
yeah, if I can post the link in your chat, then I can
My
pull it up
Discord?
there in just the Twitch chat. It should be visible if people press that.
Okay.
I should hope.
All
So
right.
that
So
is,
let's put. Shall I pull it up on the screen so we can discuss it?
yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, guys. I'm just gonna pull something up. Okay, let's put this into full screen. Okay, can you guys see what we see? So basically, this is a banner designed by who's it designed by? Falcon, designed by yourself. Very nice, very nice. And who's it for? Monsieur Satara.
Yeah. So it was from Mr. Zatara, and he's a UK Sindel specialist.
Yep.
But really like the vibes. I love using dark backgrounds. I absolutely love it. Dark grays. And basically like what I was doing for this is really just finding like an appropriate way to, you know, portray Sindel. She's the queen of Edenia. You know, she's kind of like the head honcho. She's the queen bee.
Yep.
So I got her human form in the right faded within the background as well, where I've got some color laying over it and everything. But basically with this is the banner that ended up getting liked by the voice actress of Sindel. But yeah, it's basically I love using dark backgrounds, and then with my brushes and my other color tones, I make them really vibrant so that they stand out that much more. With all of that smoke that you see, like all the pinky purple mist around her, those are like the natural colors that she uses within her special moves and everything like that. So I like using that kind of stuff, but for that I actually just used a brush pack that was for clouds. and then I sort of created my own form of doing it. But my way of doing it was really to accent, where like how Sindel's body is, and then you want to get it like, get a composition for it like that. And
Yep.
then all those little icons on the side are variation icons from within the game.
Mm.
So I've made a little pattern just like that to accent up the sides with a bit of faded text in the background that just says Queen of Edenia. Um, and the player name text over there on the left, it's just a bit more stylized and keeping it
Yeah.
sort of within the theme. Um, but something I do as well a lot is I will color pick the tone on a character with renders that I use. I'll color pick that tone. And because honestly, with the Mortal Kombat renders especially, they can be quite gray. And with Revenant Sindel, she already is gray, so it's not very full of life. And if I were to raise the contrast on it, it looks too sharp or it looks too strong in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually clip different layers onto the render, and I use soft brushes or hard brushes, and I will color pick and I will kick up the vibrance just a bit. I will make it a higher tone, and then I will basically like effectively manually paint over different parts I want to accent on that character, and then just work with that. I give a bit more of a flesh out to the hair, to the eyes, and to the purple that she wears on her body, as well as some of the silvers around her neck. And I think it really does help it pop, but also keeping it like at like on a screen layer property where her hips are, so that you can see the rest of the character through there and it looks natural. Like obviously it's not totally opaque; it's going to be transparent. But stuff like that really goes a long way for me. And then I'll use like a soft brush with that same tone, like a 0% hardness, a really big brush right at the top, and I'll give it that little bit of a spotlight, just to help kind of act like it's reflecting off of that smoke I have at the bottom.
That is beautiful, man. I'm not gonna lie, that is a beautiful piece of work. And you know what I really like is the subtle typography that you used in the background. That is really good stuff, man. Where it says Queen of Edenia. I really like that. And I also like the grayscale. The grayscale of the character, and then I love how the eyes pop as well. And the smoke really complements her colors as well of what she's wearing. And I really like that. It's really beautifully crafted.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And also like there's subtle things like this as well. Where it says Mr. Satara. I really like the gradient. That really makes it pop a little bit more. And
it does,
the
because
subtle
there's a lot
shadow
of
as well.
Rays. Exactly, and I actually don't use a gradient on the text.
Yeah.
What I do is I will use a flat white text, and then I'll create a layer on top of it. I'll clip that, and I'll take a 0% hardness black brush, and I will apply manual shadowing to whatever part I want to shadow. And then I'll fade down the opacity on it so it doesn't create too much of a like it's not too crazy in that sense that it's going like from a white to a really harsh like dark color, but rather it blends in and it gives it that grayness that makes it look like a very natural shadow.
It's very subtle. That's what I mean. It's like you can see it, but it's subtle at the same time. It's not like really harsh, but it still makes it stand out, which I think is a beautiful piece of work, I would say. So really well done on that one. Well, mine's the opposite to yours. Like, I recently done a piece of work that used a lot of white space instead of dark space. So, do you mind if I show it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is something I worked on recently, which is the Unleashed branding, as you guys can see.
Oh yeah, gotta love it.
So basically, this is something I did for UIU, and I like to create some like drama in my work. And so basically, UIU Unleashed was a name that myself and Legendary Mihawk came up with. So we had a long list of names that we had to go through. So like, whether it be UIU FC, UIU Fight Club, UIU Fight Night or something, but UIU Unleashed like really stood out for us, like, because it's like
it's okay. This is about.
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
It's alright. Yeah, I got interrupted then. That's all good. So yeah, Unleashed became like a name that we felt comfortable with, because it's like, UIU with the U in it as well, and then We thought that was a really cool name, and then we thought like, let's play on the demon aspect of it, of being unleashing the devil gene, unleashing the Satsu no Hado as well. So last week I used Kazuya, like unleashing the devil gene, and then we have the background where it's animated, where like where Kazuya is fighting Heihachi. He unleashes the devil gene, and then we also have the type, which is slanted to an angle, which I think looks pretty cool, because like I've done a lot of graphics where it's just like flat, but I thought let's give it something a bit different. Let's like give it a bit of an angle, you know, to make it look like a movie. You know, like a lot of movies like to use this sort of like slanted sort of style typography, and I thought this would be a nice way of you know, really emphasizing the unleashed. But also like I sectioned it off quite neatly as well. Like basically I divided the page into 4, so having 1/4 of the players and another quarter of the French players as well. So having that background playing in the background, you know, having that video playing in the background, I think really adds emphasis to it. And this is like one of my proudest pieces, and not only that, I decided to use a lot of white space to really bring out Akuma, but also grade scaled him, but also brought a lot of emphasis to his eyes by like color brushing away the basically the front layer. So I've done 2 layers. I've done like a color layer like at the bottom, then I put a grayscale layer at the top, and I played around with the levels and the contrast, and I brushed away the grayscale layer, so a lot of that color will pop out from the color layer. So that is the result of that. And so yeah, this was something I created, which I think is really well received by everyone, especially by the UIU guys. They really like the branding of it, and then this is something that we're going to keep using, and we're going to change the color of it, you know, to suit different countries. So for example, if we're going to take this to, let's say France. So like if this is going to be like, you know, a dedicated event based in France, then we're going to change the colors to maybe to red and blue, or maybe just blue or something like that. Or if we're going to use Korea as an example, then we're going to just probably use bits of the flag from the Korean flag, just to emphasize those colors. So yeah, this is like completely opposite to your design, which is basically more white space. But then again, like there's no harm in using either white or dark backgrounds. It just depends how you use them. Am I right?
Yeah, I really really love this. Like the moment I saw it get posted, I was just like, wow. You know, I love the way that you have the cinematic trailer in the background as well. It really breathes so much more life into it. And obviously, you know, it just keeps it very good. You have the natural like sparks and the natural kind of, you know, bits from, obviously they're fighting in like a very volcanic area,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it really complements everything, and it keeps the background so flushed, so nice, so clean. And then you have that, how you have the white stroke over the text to keep it even more legible over
yeah.
the in the forefront. But not just that, you've got a second layer underneath, which is a basic mirror of the red text you have in the front, and
Yeah.
you've got that set to like a soft light or something, or an overlay like over the back, so it's even darker, and it blends in, giving it that little bit of an accent, which you then have duplicated into the 3v3 UK versus France at the bottom.
Yeah.
But you know what impresses me the absolute most is how you can keep everything angled at the perfect angle. It's one of the things I struggle with the most. It is so hard to do.
Yeah. That was like I had to be very precise with my measurements. I had to manually type in the measurements to angle them even the sponsors I angled. Do you know what I mean? Like normally.
Yeah, it looks so good. Like the combo one right at the top just sits there perfectly. It's just, it makes me so happy to see that.
Oh, awesome.
Clean.
Yeah. All right, so we're just showing you 2 pieces of work. I think we should do this more often, like do these podcasts, but also show like our pieces of work as well, which I think will be good. You know, like maybe we have a discussion on certain topics, and then in the end we can talk about what we've been working on, just to sort of get people's creative juices flowing. You know, keep them inspired, which I think will be a good way of getting this podcast going. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure, man. I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah,
I think it's a really good idea, but that exact thing is what inspired me to do what I sent you earlier on as well, with that little animation bit that I did for my own stream, because I thought it was really cool. I don't know just a very brief show of this if anyone was interested.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, go for it. Do you want to show another piece of work? Go for it, man.
Yeah, sure. So it's basically I was literally inspired by the Unleashed thing when I saw that. It got me thinking last night.
Oh,
And I
nice,
did it last night.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, show it. Just send me the link and I'll put it. I'll expand it.
Yeah,
to full screen.
it's in the chat now. So
Okay.
basically it's super basic. There's no text on it. There's no nothing. But it's I've only just started to kind of like play around with things and learn how to animate in Photoshop.
Which chat did you put it in? If you don't mind me asking.
It should just be in this DM chat.
The DM chat in on
Discord.
Discord.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. I have to exit out full screen. Is it the Berserk one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let me click that. And I'll just pull that in. Bruv. Whoa, man, that is sick. Oh my god.
So that's what I was.
You know what? Let me just try and get this on display. I'll just move the camera. Oh. Alright, I'm getting confused now. Alright, okay, so I'll just move these out of the way for a second.
Yeah, it looks.
Okay, there you go. Oh man,
honest,
that's amazing. I love the smoke.
So I wanted the smoke to be there to kind of give it a bit more life.
Yeah.
And I mean, I am such a Berserk nerd. It's like my favorite thing in the world. So
that's brilliant, man. Did you use the timeline tool in Photoshop, didn't you?
Yeah, and then I got it to a custom 60 frames and rendered it out at that as well. And the smoke is basically dry ice, which I sourced. So I've got like a dry ice, and I've effectively like screened it over the background whilst using some blood splatter brushes as well on Guts himself, and got the right tones of red, and then found the right layer adjustments I needed to kind of make it look really like spattery, really dried blood, but also like with bits of like fresh on there. Got a bit on the sword, a bit on like the back of his cape, and some like on his hand at the bottom, and then with the dry ice like smoky effect, it just helped give it more of a vibe, give it more of like a theme, give it some more light.
Mate, that's awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's basically just what I've tried to do, inspired off of what you did.
Oh man, cheers, thank you very much. Well, that is a beautiful piece of work, man. I really like that smoke. It's like it's blended perfectly. It isn't just like, how can I say, because some people, when some people try and blend things together, you always see like bits of white things floating around. Do you get what I mean? But like it just looks like it's part of the image, which I find really fascinating.
I had to really play around with it to try and get it like that, but thankfully, already knowing my Photoshop layers and knowing how to do all that stuff, it was a lot easier for me to kind of blend everything together and then set it on the timeline and work, in that basis.
Okay, I've got one last piece to show, if you don't mind.
Go for it. Your screen, mate.
Yep. Just bear with me a second. I'm just gonna make this zoom. If I can get this to zoom. Okay, here we go. This is on Facebook.
Oh, I love this one so much as well.
I designed this for Aru. If the quality decides to be HD. Quality 70. There we go. So basically, I know Aru has become like a massive fan of Final Fantasy. She absolutely adores Final Fantasy, right? And this illustration was created by a teammate of mine in UIU called Walter. He drew this like awesome, lovely image of Aru. And then what I did was like take all the sponsors, all the typography, all the the fonts and stuff like that, and then put it together. Then I created this like Aurora, like live stream type background playing in. And I knew like this was what she kind of wanted, because I knew how much she loved Final Fantasy. I thought this was perfect. This was perfect for her, and I really felt the animation was like, it really expressed her as a content creator as well, and what she was into. So I really felt like this was like probably one of my proudest pieces. Like having that starry background playing playing at the same time with the awesome illustration. It really felt like Aru's brand, if you get what I mean. So yeah,
I honestly thought it was like really representative of just what the kind of vibe that she's after. I think it looks super clean, super professional.
Yeah, that took me ages to cut out, you know that illustration. Oh my god, the pen tool. Like I have to be so precise with the pen tool on this one. Especially on the grass and everything. Oh my god, it took me ages, but I never ever like using the magic wand tool. I always use the pen tool to make sure I get the most precise cuts. But yeah, that is something that I'm really proud of. So yeah, all right, okay, let's move these along. I'm gonna rob that and download that as a wallpaper. That's too awesome, mate. Your dessert thing, way too good.
Thank you.
Right. So yeah, we're just gonna open it out to, we're going to stay here for an extra 5 minutes. So if you guys got any more questions, lay it on us before we close the stream. And we'll definitely, me and Shab or Falkunn will probably we'll do a retrospective on the stream, and we'll talk about what we will, how often we should be doing it, and what we should be talking about next. So, but definitely, please leave me like comments or drop me DMs if you really feel like this content is valuable to you, or you've got any suggestions on how we can improve it. Then let us know. Like we're all open. We're all ears. At the end of the day, we want this to be valuable to you guys. It isn't just about me just broadcasting myself. This is a stream where I want to broadcast designers in the FGC or within esports, and really use this platform for you to showcase your work. And if there are things that you want advice on, or you want to show off some proud pieces that you've done, then let's use this platform. Let's use this platform and get you guys out there. All right, so let's see if we got any more questions. So I'm guessing this would be at the end of the stream too, but where can I find or follow more Falkunn's work? So where can we follow your work, my friend?
Twitter is the best place. So sometimes I design on my stream as well, but primarily, like, everything new that I do, I tend to upload to my Twitter profile. And my name on Twitter is just @Falkunn, like same spelling as you see just above the camera. So if you have Twitter, then you can just follow me on there, and you'll be able to see anything new that I post. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I do fall behind quite a bit when it comes to uploading for my portfolios online, but that's because, like, I'd rather just get a workload done and then be satisfied with stuff, and then just mass upload everything and then organize it from there. But yeah, I mostly just put things on Twitter because it's good for my outreach and the engagement and stuff like that, and just sharing my work with the people that follow me and the people that do want to see more.
Also, by the way, if you guys really want to join the Discord, then drop Falkunn or Shab a message as well if you want to join the design Discord. It is really valuable. It is a great way for you to share your work, and also great to get some feedback on it. Like I found some great value in it, so hopefully you guys will join us as well. We're more than happy to have more design members within our community. We really want this community to really expand and really show your individuality within the FGC. Like, we can't always be the best players, we can't always be like the next Knee, the next Lowhigh, the next Sonic Fox, but we can be the next big designers. This is a platform that we can really grow ourselves. So by all means, join the Discord, and we look forward to seeing you there. And yeah, show us some of your work. We're very excited to see some of your work as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. And that concludes our stream. That concludes episode 1 of the Shen design stream, and thank you very much, Shab, for coming in. We'll definitely make more of these. Yeah. So if people want to be featured on the stream, if you guys want some advice, then by all means drop us a message, and we'll see what we can do. We're definitely up for portfolio viewings. We're definitely up to talk about just work or any topic in regards to the FGC or design within the FGC. Then let us know. Follow both of us. I'm UIU Shen. This is Falkunn, and we hope you guys have a good night. So thank you very much for tuning in, and enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much.
See ya.
See ya. Take care.